Well, now we know that if Jake Garcia eventually turns into a quality Power 5 starting quarterback, it won't be in Miami. Welcome to Canes Live right here at the Voice of College Football. Cam Underwood's here from State of the U, as he always is every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. So we always appreciate Cam, because without Cam, we don't have a show. So show your appreciation in all various ways. The Super Chat's available to you. The like button as well. Please leave your comments and questions in the live chat, and we will serve them up. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. Watching other basketball because Miami actually had a short turnaround and played on Monday and won against Syracuse. So the last couple of weeks have been watching and talking, but this week had my undivided attention, everybody. So yeah, we're here and gonna hang out. So enjoy.
We haven't been able to tell, so you pull it off.
Good.
All right, Jake Garcia.
Yeah.
I think the comment was made by you, certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but that there was a level of surprise when he did not enter the transfer portal at the point that the transfer portal was flooded those first couple of days, as it typically is, because people usually know, the student athletes know where they're headed and what they're thinking at that point. And at that point, and for now many weeks, he has stayed put in regards to at least not announcing anything. And there's been a bit of a surprise considering that only one quarterback plays, that he has stuck around. But now, near the end of the transfer portal period, he has made that decision known.
Yeah, and it wasn't exclusive to him, by the way. It was really, as I take out my old handwritten list, because I love handwritten, there's, I have notes and things. Sometimes I just like to put it on paper, not just like type it and everything. But I was staunchly of the idea, and because on my list that, no, I'm not publishing to you guys, so just deal with it. But I have shared it in one group chat, and then people were like, whoa. And I was like, okay, look, because on my list are both Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia. And they're like, you're not. And I was like, no, I don't think that both of them are going to go. But I was very firmly of the idea that one of those dudes is going to leave. You got a fourth-year guy and a third-year guy. Let me see. 20, 21, 20. No, I'm sorry. You got a fifth-year guy and a fourth-year guy now. Or going into next season, right? Because Garcia, he played during the COVID season. He got, what did he play in 21? No, because Dear King was here. No, yeah, so he'd be a third-year guy. But either way, well, no, because King got hurt, and then Van Dyke started in 21. So that was his freshman year. So 21, 22, 23. So you got a third-year guy and a fourth-year guy. Sorry, I had to, whatever. I woke up from a nap a little bit ago. Brain's still rebooting. You guys will be all right. Either way, you have veteran dudes, towards the end of their tenures in college. And both of those guys are going to want to play, now. And it's not crazy that, the moment that he says he's coming back, Tyler Van Dyke is your starting quarterback. Like it, love it, hate it, whatever. That's your guy. Unless you're getting, no, that's your guy. Even if you were to get a Dante Moore, Nico Iamaleava, right? 5-star recruit in this class. Van Dyke is starting the year. Now, it might be a slow transition thing like Kelly Bryant to Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, had we gotten one of those guys. But you're going into the year, and Tyler Van Dyke, if he returns to school, is your starting quarterback from day one. Period. And when that decision was made, and Tyler Van Dyke had standing offers to go a few places, that was really kind of shocking because I didn't think he was coming back, honestly. And then Garcia being like, yeah, no, I'm staying too. Like, what? And look, I get it that he wants to be in Miami. I've seen his father at the tailgate area. I've heard other people, people rushing up to him. Oh, hey, Mr. Garcia, you say, because he's wearing the number 13 Garcia jersey. It's his dad, and you had that ESPN feature, so you know what his dad looks like. You know what I mean? And everything. And he's like, nah, yeah, no, Jake's going to stay. Jake's going to stay. I was like, yeah, he's going to stay. But for how long? Because I don't think it's really sustainable that he's going to just sit forever. You know what I mean? So, yeah, when he finally decided to go into the portal yesterday I think it was. That it makes sense because I just really didn't think that both of those dudes were coming back. Whether it was Van Dyke leaving or Garcia leaving. and you go back and watch the videos, I think from towards the end of the regular season, very staunch on that belief. And that, was finally borne out to be true with that move yesterday. So, and like with all these players, hey, I wish him the best. I really wish it would have worked out. He was the highest rated recruit at the quarterback position since Kyle Wright in 2003 for Miami. So he's a very talented guy. He's a top 50 overall recruit coming out of, the 17 high schools he played at and everything, on both coasts between California and Georgia. But I mean, this is a talented player. And I know it didn't go perfectly. And I know he didn't step in and, just have 100% completions with, 47 yards per attempt and a, 93% touchdown rate. I get it. But this is still a guy who can play, a high Power 5 level. He can be, a very good player. And I do, wish him the success to see that somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was very crazy that both of those guys said that they were going to come back. And I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. And yesterday it did. So these things happen.
So based on your evaluation, Cam, and from what I remember, it lines up with the evaluation from the scouts, is that coming out of high school, Jake Garcia was a better player with more upside. Now, based on what you've seen, do you still believe that he has more potential, a higher potential skill set, all those things, and he just didn't grasp the offense, the leadership role, all the intangibles that add up to being a polished ACC quarterback versus what Tyler Van Dyke showed us, especially in 2021?
Right. I think that there were tangibles that didn't go his way either. I mean, it's not just it was not just the ephemeral. There were tangible things like he missed throws and he wasn't aware on the field. He turned the ball over repeatedly, things like that. Hadn't gotten the grasp of the offense where you're really. I mean, and everybody doesn't have the ability, but where you're checking out of a bad play into a good one. You know what I mean? Like I want to go, inside zone read, or it's just like can we check that to a bubble because we had, like he didn't showcase that either. So it was not just the intangible. There were tangible things. He has a strong arm, but I mean, it was lacking when needed. Like if you were to say there's an argument as recruit, right, that he has a stronger arm than Tyler Van Dyke. Tyler Van Dyke throws an infinitely better deep ball, which a major part of that is arm strength. You got to get that ball, I mean, in the air 40, 50 yards, right? But if you're like, okay, well, this dude has a stronger arm, he should be able to do that. But it doesn't translate that way onto the field for whatever reason, if that's footwork, if that's timing, if that's, whatever. So, I mean, there were the intangible things, but there were definitely the tangible things as well. And I think that, yeah, after a couple years here, obviously there's still a guy in front of him. And I will continue to say this because it was right and it is right. Jake Garcia was the first quarterback off the bench following De'Aaron King in 21 as a true freshman in front of Tyler Van Dyke. So there was a time that the coaching staff even said, hey, this is going to be the next guy, not down the line right now in the HBCU. I think that was the Central Connecticut State game, right? Not HBCU, but, the FCS game, right? So to start that year, bro, well, second game, but you get what I'm saying. But in that season, he was the first quarterback off the bench behind your cemented, demonstrated starter. That didn't happen for happenstance. They didn't come out the middle of nowhere. They didn't, just have a magic 8 ball and say, okay, well, which quarterback should we start? And you go, or, they didn't, whatever, flip a coin or something. Like that was intentional. So that had potential there. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm in front of Van Dyke then, because he breaks his ankle. And then, De'Aaron King gets hurt. And then, okay, you're watching the dude that you were in front of on the depth chart now come in and do numbers, take your job. Then he does it again. Well, where he's, and you try to come back, this last year and like kind of make that a competition, and it really wasn't. and things like that. So, it's I mean, for those who are really seriously rooting for Jake Garcia, obviously it's a bitter pill. But I mean, look, it doesn't work out for every quarterback, not at all. And in Miami, I mean, he had very middling performance. And I think that having to do as much as the quarterback has to do for Miami right now when the other areas of the team are lacking, I think is a bridge too far for Garcia at this moment. But again, I think he's a kid who can play and start in a Power 5, like a middle top end Power 5. I'm not saying he's going to go somewhere and win a national championship, but excuse me, but yeah, he has the talent to be, a quarterback in the top half of a Power 5 team. And I wish him the best if that's where he goes, or if he continues the stampede of players going from Miami to SMU to play for Rhett Lashley, then good luck, because Preston Stone is who they're banking on this year, and you got to beat him out if you go that route. But either way, I think that, he does have the potential and the talent to be a good player at the college level, but he has to find a home and really get his performance to the level needed.
Falconer X super sticker. Thank you so much for being here, Falconer X. We appreciate your support as always. You know that. Thank you so much for that. And also Falconer X chimes in with, I don't think Jake leaving is a problem. We got quarterbacks, need receivers.
Need another quarterback too, though. I mean, we're at the same point that we were when De'Aaron King was here. You're one play away from turning the keys over to Ja'Carri Brown or Emory Williams. No. And this is when earlier, obviously before Jaden Rashada flipped, we're going to get there in a while, guys. Before he did, saying, hey, if either Van Dyke or Garcia leave, then you have the one who stays, Ja'Carri Brown, who still needs a full redshirt year of not playing to work on his passing, and then Emory Williams and Jaden Rashada, and that's plenty of talent in the room. But then you take out one of the guys from the top of that room, because Jay Garcia is a clear measure better than anybody else in that room right now. And now you're dangerously thin at quarterback. And you always have to look at that next play, because you're one play away. You're 2 plays away from Emory Williams for the rest of the season. You're 3 plays and a play, i.e. like a guy gets injured and out for the year, because these things happen. You're 1 play away from Ja'Carri Brown for the rest of the year. You're 2 plays away from Emory Williams for the rest of the year. You're 3 plays away from Peyton Matoka having to play meaningful snaps for the rest of the season for the Miami Hurricanes at quarterback. That should be alarming to you, because it is to me. So, I mean, there are numbers. And look, Tyler Van Dyke is not just, he's not this super durable guy, as we saw last year. Brett Favre was super durable and started every game of his career when he first started, until he didn't, right? So, even, I don't even remember who he was playing for. I think it was the Packers or the Jets at the time. I think it was Packers. But they were like, cool, we're going to set it and forget it, and he's going to be our quarterback every single week. And then something happened, and okay, now we got to scramble. Van Dyke's already proven he can get hurt, and does, right? And I know that Miami's brought in a lot of guys along the offensive line to shore things up, but you get a free blitzer in there on him again, and he goes down a little awkwardly. Who knows, bro? So, I mean, is there talent at quarterback? Yes. Is it enough to just be like, no, we're super duper good? I don't personally believe so. I do also agree with you on the other part of that point, though. Miami needs some receivers. If you look in the portal this year, it's been 0-4 again. All the guys, Andrew Anthony from Michigan, who previously was recruited by and played for Josh Gaddis, nah. The Dante Thornton kid from Oregon, who played for Cristobal previously, nah. It's starting to get to that point where it's like, yo, this is 2 years in a row, and the best player that you got from the transfer portal is Frank Ladson, who's extra regular. It's getting to be a problem.
You wouldn't think that would be the position where there would be a problem.
You wouldn't think, but I mean, we got, the mini mites. We got a bunch of small, fast dudes. And again, I know that people can say, well, it works for Tyreek Hill and Jayden Waddle with the Dolphins. Da, 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 da. First of all, they lost in the first round of playoffs. Shut it. But I know it wasn't the receiver's fault. But like, those guys are so supremely talented is why that works. Our guys, even if they're, athletically gifted, they're not on that level, right? They're not on the level of either of those dudes. So to say, oh, well, we got Ray Joseph and we got Robbie Washington, the other twin, not Bobby, Robbie. And yeah, they're going to do the same thing. It's like, maybe, you got a gamer, a gym rat in a Xavier Restrepo who's fine, but he should be a number 4 on a good team. If you think of a good college team, think of them. Any of the playoff teams, right? Well, maybe not Michigan, because Michigan really uses their tight ends more than anything else. Hey, maybe he's a 3 at TCU because they really had the one dude and then another 6'2" dude, kind of, sort of. But like, on a really top end team, Xavier Restrepo is at best a 3. He's probably a 4 or a 5 on a really good team, but he's thrust into being the most productive receiver here because Tyler Van Dyke has that tractor beam locked on him because they're roommates and they have that chemistry where I know where he's going to be, so I can give him the ball. Like, he's great value. Wes Welker. He's not athletically, he's not supremely gifted. He's a great technician and he's there. And like, sometimes the best ability is availability. And on a play where I got to get the ball somewhere, I know I can give the ball to 7. That was what Welker did. Or Edelman. Those guys aren't Hall of Famers by any means, but they won their battles. They were open enough. You turn a 5-yard completion into 12 yards on 3rd and 4. That's a Restrepo mold. That's not like a him. I need 3rd and 7, and I'm running a stop route with the number 1 receiver at the X, with the number 1 defensive back, probably with the safety tilted that way, and I'm throwing him the ball because he's that guy. We don't have anything like that. Miami guys, a bunch of 2s through 6s. And saying somebody's a 2 is, maybe a little bit of a speculation, but it's really a lot of 3s with a couple guys like a Colby Young potentially being a 2. If he breaks out, that would be incredible, for a 3-star JUCO kid to all of a sudden be like the guy at the University of Miami at wide receiver. But like, yeah, that's the bigger issue. And I'm not saying that quarterback is not an issue, because it is, but I would say receiver is really, 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 really becoming an issue, a continuing issue, because we've seen, again, players from here, recruits from here go elsewhere and flourish with their ability, talent, skill, development, all of those things, and doing it wearing colors other than orange, green, and white. I think that the proliferation of wide receiver recruits going elsewhere has surpassed any other position. Defensive back, linebacker, rush end. And that's the most glaring issue on this roster. It's really, at least when Mark Richt got here and he said that Miami had no team speed on offense, like, you're still recruiting like 4-stars and 5-star. You get Amon Richards. You know what I mean? Like, you can get like a dude, like, but now you're like, okay, we don't really have talent at wide receiver, and you get, and again, no shade, because I think that they're going to be good in the roles they can have in Ray Joseph and Robbie Washington, but like, that's the best you can do. Like, again, with the proliferation of talent down here every year, yikes.
Yeah, for sure. You're not having to go 1,000 miles away to get guys. You're not Nebraska. Falcon Rex, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. TVD needs breakout year, which he certainly had a breakout stretch in 2021. Last year was to be.
Yeah, if we were running the same offense and we had the same offensive coordinator at Lashley, like, yeah, I think that like a progressional development on the performance that we saw at the end of the year. But also we didn't run any of the stuff that he wanted to be or wanted to do in the passing game. And you saw that at the beginning of the year. And finally, Josh Gaddis was like, bro, what do you want to run? What do you throw best? And he's like, oh, cool. Let's do some play actions. Let's run in some levels. Let's go some mesh. Let's go some, Jesus, what's the high-low read? Smash. You know, and then let's throw some verts in there too. Like, let's do that and dress that up from a lot of different formations. And you can do that from a lot of different formations. I saw somebody on Twitter was talking about I think it was the 49ers breakout plays on pass. It was like Bill Barnwell or like somebody, you know, famous for football analysis. Like, yeah, look at these 4 longest passing plays from the 49ers' first playoff win. And they were all dagger, which is basically a deep crosser with a vertical, and it crosses like a dagger. And then you clear out with the vertical, you hit the crosser behind it, your guy goes and runs. Simple, easy concept. But they did it from 4 different formations. They dress it up differently. But when you highlight the routes, you see, okay, there's the vertical on the one side and the crosser coming behind it. It's dagger just in different ways, you know? And so you can you can run smash a different way. You know, you can run, you can dress mesh up because mesh is going to cross in the middle of the field because mesh does what it does. Now you can add a rail, you can add an angle, you can add all kinds of different things onto it, but you finally start to do those things. But like, why is it taking our offensive coordinator 5 games to go to the quarterback and be like, hey, what do you want to do? What makes you successful as a passer when you've been here since January? Like, that wasn't the first thing that you did. And again, when you have it multiply reported that conversation of that type did happen down the line during the season, fuck you been doing?
Falcon Rex, Miami should not be slot you.
I mean, among other things, sure, but like exclusively as it looks like we're trending to be this season, no, we should not.
Falcon Rex.
Yeah. TBE or tight end you or linebacker you need. I mean, we have a supremely talented quarterback. Can he stay healthy? Are we going to run things that, like, you know, suit his skill set? Tight end you continue to be. And then linebacker you, we recruited the hell out of that position, this year in high school and the portal. So, I'm going to try to get back to that. But and speaking of the TEU thing, Mark, your boy Cam McCormick did transfer to Miami, or did announce his commitment to transfer to Miami. I believe he's on campus because classes started yesterday. So that's the 8th year tight end from Oregon, who has this and another year of eligibility based upon the fact that he missed like 3 or 4 years of his career entirely due to injury. So Dr. Cam McCormick, JD MBA Esquire, Farm D, whatever, all those things will be here for this year and next. Well, this year and potentially next, but he's a ferocious blocker in the run game. So I guess that's going to just kind of be an extension of the offensive line. So if you see whatever number he's going to wear, because he's had previously worn 18, but Khalil Brantley has that number currently. But whatever, when you ever see that, I would probably expect a run in there. I don't know if it'll be right behind him or if they're going to bring him across the formation in a wham kind of split zone kind of a way, which is possible. But yeah, if you see him, then I would expect either run or heavy play action.
Caught 10 balls last year for 3 touchdowns.
Good for him. Great. Even in this recruiting class, like we have Riley Williams, who's one of the top, 3? I think he's number 3 tight end in the country. And then Jackson Carver, who's a former hockey and lacrosse, and I don't know if he played basketball, but he played football, lacrosse, and hockey. He was a Notre Dame lacrosse commit for a while. He played defenseman in both of those sports at 6'6", 240-ish. So he's a guy who can definitely stretch the field, but he's going to develop hopefully in terms of blocking. But for a dude who played hockey and lacrosse, I don't think that the physicality of blocking is a bridge too far for him. Like he ran around, skated around on skates and hit people, and also in lacrosse. So he should be fine with the physicality of football as he's newer to the game. But we don't even really need him right now because the tight end is a position that you recruit really well.
Miami Live, folks. We're here every Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Appreciate you being here. We got about 160 on the line, and certainly make it on time each and every week. Or You wait for the video to post after you get done watching us here for the last half hour, and you can catch up with the 25 minutes that you missed if you're just jumping on line with us here. Starting center Ja'Kai Clark. So he hits the transfer portal.
Yes.
Now, of course, when the transfer portal is working in the direction that the fans of that particular team want it to work on, it's losing, pardon the term, dead weight, but losing those guys, or it's obviously gaining very key players that fill needs or just outstanding players from other programs. In the matter of a Ja'Kai Clark, he's the starting center. He's playing at a, regardless of what the wins and losses have been recently, top program. And is he unhappy about something else? And I'm not asking you this point blank because
I'll tell you, it's real transactional. Miami got a better center from UCF than Matt Lee.
That was going to be my second part of the question is the UCF center better than him?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
He's PFF graded number 3 center in America was Matt Lee. You bring him in and you're like, yo, this is a first team all conference dude. Like this guy, like we brought in a bigger, better player at your position. So, everybody was like, oh, well, Ja'Kai Clark's still going to start. And I saw some people were like, And I thought he was going to come back and start next year. But as soon as I saw us get Matt Lee, I was like, oh, yeah, like hit the bricks, buddy. Or be a really good backup or compete for your job at center or for the job at center. You're going to lose because Matt Lee is better. Or compete for a job at guard, one of the other interior line positions. But everybody takes pride in what they do. And like, I play center and I'm really good at that. And, I want to be the leader of the offensive line and da-da-da-da. Nah, it's very transactional. We got a better player. Boom, done. Bye. See it. So yeah, it is. And, I've seen other people who are like, the mentality of, if there's another potential option at a position, then these players just leaving in droves from the roster just shows the mental fragility of the team that we've seen over the course of years. I can't really argue with that, but it's pretty cut and dry transactional. We got a better guy who's going to play your spot, and like he's better than you, so he's going to play that spot. Yeah, and again, Ja'Kai Clark is a guy who has multiple years of starting experience. And he will be able to go somewhere. Like Corey Gaynor wasn't good and he went to North Carolina and started for them. So, Ja'Kai Clark should be able to go somewhere, again, top half the P5. The only thing is he's a little undersized. But like he should be able to go somewhere and find a role. Like, hey, and I get, obviously, wish him well. I wish, if he obviously wanted that role to be in Miami. But yeah, no, the writing was on the wall. We got a better guy who's going to play that position because we're trying to upgrade everywhere. And if you're able to upgrade, and everything and, win that or keep that job in the upcoming battle, great. If not, vaya con Dios. I wish you the best.
Some folks in the chat were asking about Jaheim Singletary.
Oh,
are there reasons to ask about him?
Well, he's already announced his transfer from Georgia, so he's in the portal. Mr. Singletary is a former 5-star from Trinity Christian. Trinity Christian Academy in Jacksonville. Miami was involved in that recruitment. It came down to O State and Georgia. He ended up going to Georgia. He was on their championship team this past year as a true freshman, announced his intention to transfer and everything. And yeah, look, you're going to seldom find a guy with that kind of talent anywhere in the country, let alone just randomly available. So, obviously with the ongoing whatever the shenanigans are with the Cormani McLean situation, if Falcon Rex is right, the portal is a two-way street. Got one, lost one, or got one and then sent one packing. But Jaheim Singletary, like if you're looking to fill that 5-star sized hole in this recruiting class, because Cormani has not signed anything, he's not committed anywhere. He's committed to Miami. If you're listening to this later, I'm doing air quotes excessively in the air because he's committed to Miami. But his actions tell a different story. But yeah, if you're looking to upgrade and continue to upgrade the cornerback room and add in more talent, which you obviously were trying to do because you're recruiting, Cormine and McClain. You got Cormine and McClain to commit and everything. So on paper, at least, you had, him and these other guys, the Brown brothers and Stafford at corner in this class. Look, Jaheim Singletary is a guy, if he wants to be, closer to home, I mean, it's a little bit closer. I mean, obviously the thing is, like, Florida and Florida State are closer to Jacksonville than is Miami. So there's that. But who knows? But yeah, I mean, definitely recruit him, go after him, and kind of see what shakes. Yeah.
So the one recruit that's making more news right now than anybody over the last few days is, of course, Jaden Rashada, the former Florida commit whose NIL deal went south. Okay. So
by the way, he did sign.
Signed a letter of intent. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
To be
so
more
they did
accurate.
mention it. So people are like, oh, well, they committed violation. No, he signed his letter of intent at early signing and everything. But yes, things have gone south. You can continue.
So do you take this in from your mind? Well, you've got a couple different perspectives. You've got the Miami perspective as a fan. You also have more in-depth knowledge of the recruiting game than most. Do you look at this as, okay, this is a reason to chuckle and snicker at Florida? Or do you look at this as this is maybe one example of what is forthcoming on a regular basis and is kind of messed up about this whole NIL process? And I guess it can be both.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a lot of the first one, a little of the second one, because I don't think that this is going to continue to happen. But basically, Florida wanted to get into an ego measuring contest, we'll call it, with the University of Miami. And Miami won that battle, right? So you get Rashada to commit to Miami over Florida, head up and everything. And then Florida, basically with NIL, they went back and bid against themselves to get the number where the number has been multiply independently reported to be, right? So I'm not making this up. I didn't say, well, I heard that it was 13 million. Look, the Athletic, 247 Sports, I think one of the Florida newspapers up there, the Gainesville Sun, like, there have been multiple journalists at multiple outlets who have reported, as in done the work behind the scenes. They've talked to people. They've done all those journalistic things, right? And they've reported that number is 13 million. That number didn't come from nowhere, guys, right? So UF, what they did, or their collective, is, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that there were not conversations between the Rashadas and NIL representatives from collectives regarding Miami. That would be asinine, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, he was going to come to Miami for free, and then they just said, no, look, we worked out whatever was worked out is what was worked out under the rules and guidelines of the NIL code. Cool, fine. Let's make that happen. But Florida goes, and then they, wanted to one-up Miami because it's, again, they lost this battle head-to-head, and it's the most important position on the field. So you want then to go and not only get that guy on your roster, but keep him off of a rival's roster, and we're going to play them a couple times in the upcoming years, right? So then they bid a higher number, and then against themselves, we're like, wait. Let's bid another subsequently higher number than the higher number than we just offered this kid. Hey, it ain't tricking if you got it. And if you want to do that, fine. But then they get signed contracts, as has been multiply reported. Okay. And then down the line, whomever from the collective was the guarantor, the person who said, I will guarantee to provide the funding for this contract, right? There has to, at the end of the day, the buck has to stop with somebody or come from someone. But whoever that was, or whomever those people were, decided down the line, 13 million is too rich for my blood. for whatever reason. And then so Rashada is like, whoa, hey, wait. They ain't got shit to do with me, right? Like, y'all already signed this deal. Like, legally binding contract, which is why you then heard about the potential for litigation of them, breaking contract without having the foundation to do so. Just saying, we're just not gonna honor that contract. What? Then it comes out again, multiply reported, that in the lead up to the early signing period, that the collective goes back to Rashada and say, hey, I know that we agreed and signed contracts to the effect of $13 million, but the number is going to be less than that. Cool. No, it's not cool. Absolutely fuck not. So then he signs his NLI because it's like, okay, well, it'll get worked out. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to work it out and we're going to pay you whatever. I don't know what the new number was, but I'm spitballing half. No, I'm not doing that, right? I was going to go to Miami. I'm here for the extra super duper Skrilla that y'all said y'all were going to give me, right? So that's where, and then they're infighting in the Gator Collective, and they're like, oh well, we never had, and, then you have idiots, morons from blogs and podcasts about Florida talking about, oh, these dudes are mad that we didn't let the Rashadas flex us for $13 million. Nobody asked you for $13 million. Y'all came up with this number by yourselves and then don't have the cash to pay for it. That's on y'all for being broke. We're laughing at that. What do you mean? And honestly, it doesn't matter. It was reported way back, way back in August. Nico Iamaleava got about $8 million from Tennessee. Ain't nobody talking about $8 million Nico. He's on campus, he's doing numbers, and they're having these workouts already, and they're like, yo, this guy looks like the part and everything. But regardless, ain't nobody talking about him because the Tennessee people, they said it's going to be 8. They made sure it was 8. Everything is smooth, hunky-dory, wonderful, good, great, and glorious. That's not the case with the University of Florida. So, I mean, it's a lot where we can, talk about them. I mean, their quarterback position where Rashada would have definitely battled to start or play heavy snaps this year is now looking in shambles where, you got, what's his name? Graham Mertz from Wisconsin as like the guy. Yikes, a million. I wouldn't want that to be my best quarterback in the quarterback room at all. And I don't think that this is going to be something you're going to see time over time, because like you lie once. Why am I going to trust you again? Oh no, we're going to sign a contract. You signed a fucking contract with Jaden Rashada and then came back and said, we don't got it. It's not going to be that money. Like your word is your bond. And if you cannot uphold a signed contract, why am I going to believe you? And you had Florida players or other recruits talk about, oh yeah, I'm going to Florida, not Miami, because Miami money is funny money. They ain't even got the money, but Florida, they're committing to NIL and we're getting everything that we're being promised and da-da-da. First of all, you're getting promised pennies on the dollar because they don't have the kind of cash flow that we have. And secondarily, again, these things have gotten out. I'm not spitballing. I am not saying anything that I have not read because I'm not connected there. I haven't heard anything, right? But I've read all these different reports from all these different entities. Go look it up. Y'all promised this kid $13 million and then said, well, we're just not going to do that because we're, number one, we're poor. Number two, we don't want to. If you didn't want to, look, if you weren't buying, why were you asking the price? I'm not going down on South Beach, right? I'm not going down into Brickell, wherever they're doing these new construction condos, talking about, let me look at the 3-story tall penthouse with the 40-foot ceilings and the right? Because I know I ain't got it. Y'all went and look, oh, well, whatever the cost is, because if you're going to go do that, first of all, either you're just window shopping or you already got enough where whatever it costs don't matter, right? Y'all ask the price because y'all like, okay, we can come up with that. We can make it work. We can, I got checking and savings and all that kind of stuff, right? And then push on the shove, you ain't got it. So, like, why were you at Capitol Grill when you got a Burger King budget? You know what I mean? Like, why are you trying to fly to Dubai when you got a Daytona Beach kind of vacation budget? Nah. That's on y'all. That's on them. And that's why I will continue to clown them, because, again, all of this is pretty verifiable. That's on them. And I don't think that anybody else is going to try it, because if you do what they've done, then you'll be on the Summer Jam screen being made fun of like them. And look, I know that the Derek Lagway kid, the 5-star in 24 quarterback, is saying that, yeah, he's going to Florida and everything. Look, it would stand to reason if that kid is like, how can you make me more comfortable that my NIL status is more secure than Jaden Rashada's? What can you do for that? Because you're going to have to answer that every single time. And look, Miami doesn't even have to negative recruit this. We don't even have to go into homes and say, oh, well, Florida, they're reneging. It's on the front page. It's made like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Bro, that's on them. But no, this is not going to be a repeatable kind of thing, because no, you have to you have to operate with a matter of certainty, and can you come back from that down the line? Yeah, but it's going to take some time. This is a really, really big negative for them, and it makes me personally laugh.
So if all of this happens above board, and there's chuckles that can follow that, but we're going to play it this way.
Okay.
If everything's played above board on both sides, would Jaden Rashada or any athlete have knowledge of what that figure is or is going to be before they sign that letter of intent?
Sure,
is that supposed to be the way this is played?
Why not?
Isn't it just simply supposed to be, we have an NIL collective, we have opportunities for you, we can explain what that looks like, what those are. If you do your own homework, talk to your own, connections over here, then you can figure out what that is probably going to mean. And again, I'm talking completely above board in the way it's supposed to work.
No, I don't think that that's out of line to say, like, yeah, we're in this kind of ballpark, kind of a thing. Now, the above board part,
I say that because it's not supposed to be an enticement.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not a pay for play. So it's not like if you score a touchdown, then, boom. Right. But you can be like, hey, like, these are the opportunities that we have. These are the kind of things that we do, even if you put a range on it, right? And say, yeah, look, players in the last 2 classes have gotten, somewhere, if you're and look, most of these deals are going to be 5 figures. They're going to be, solid, but not life-changing money, right? So, look, even if you go back to the University of Texas, when NIL was first announced, they had the one booster who played offensive line, who has a lot of money. He said every offensive lineman in the program who's on scholarship will get $50,000 a year worth of cash or value. So if you're talking, domicile, if you're talking food, if you're talking transportation, the total compensation package is going to be about $50,000. And look, they've gotten 5 stars there, right? But like, that's more along the line than, even a couple $100,000, let alone $8 million Nico or $13 million Jaden. Like, those are ridiculous. That's top 8 NFL draft money. Like, guaranteed money at 13. That's crazy. But yeah, you can say, look, players that have come through the program of a similar stature, playing similar positions have gotten, somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000. So if you're Texas, talking about offensive linemen, and these are the kinds of things that we have available. We do community outreach, because there usually will be a work product. So we do community outreach events. We do other kind of things, at the football camps, you guys are counselors that, goes towards that, so even if you take the firm point of being like, hey, Mark, I'm offering you XYZ, like a specific number, I don't think it's crazy to say, like, yeah, like, the range is somewhere in between here, and we could talk about that and everything. And, just full disclosure, it's very few players who get to the top end of the range. Look, it's like negotiating a salary in, real life. It's like, hey, the range for this position is from 75 to 120 based upon experience or other factors. And other factors could be, the fact that like we really need a left tackle this year, so we're willing to push that or whatever. Like, but no, I don't think it's crazy because like at the end of the day, it's money. So at some point, money has to be discussed, whether it's in general or specific.
Sadon Long, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the contribution. Sadon is asking whether 5 and 7 is affecting the U in the transfer portal.
Yes. I mean, but it's affecting in both ways. Like you got, well, I was going to say Francisco Mauigoa, but I mean, his younger brother signed here. So, but I mean, it's a thing, and again, the portal is still a double-edged sword. So like it affects you in the way where it's like, yeah, Matt Lee wants to come over because he has an opportunity to play and help elevate this team. But then also like a Dante Thornton and Andrew Anthony don't want to come here because the state of the offense and, what was put on the field. So you have that. But yeah, I mean, I think it is affecting, but in terms of like not getting all the players that we might have brought in and gone after, Jaden Rashada, loyalty and NIL. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, whatever. We were going to do what we're going to do, and you've not heard, peep the first about somebody not getting what they were contractually obligated to get once they firmly sign their NIL deals. Oh, yeah, the other thing I wanted to say just before we go on, Frank Ponce, the quarterback coach, has departed, and I think he was maybe shown the ability to take a job somewhere else. This is the ye old what I was asking Mark Richt to do to get John Richt promoted out somewhere else to clear space for whomever. But yeah, Frank Ponce is leaving the University of Miami, or has left. He is going back for a third time to Boone, North Carolina, to Appalachian State. So he goes back to the job that he had immediately before coming to Miami, which is the quarterback coach and play calling offensive coordinator. And again, he held that job for 3 years previously. And then he was there as just quarterbacks coach even before that. So, it was a heartfelt moment when he left Boone and he came to Miami and everything. He's a South Florida native, Ponce is. So, all those kind of things. But writing maybe being on the wall, he landed himself back in a pretty darn good job, to be honest. Like he's been there, he did well. He was coordinator when they won a couple of those road games against Power 5 opponents and things. He's coached up he coached up that offense against Miami a couple of years ago and whatnot. So yeah, but for a third stint in his coaching career, he's back to App State.
There's been a few disparaging comments about Jaden Rashada in the chat, not just tonight, throughout this entire recruiting process. So is there any part of this in Jaden Rashada's portion of this that for you reflects negatively on him and would cause you not to want to pursue him?
The begging. Yeah. You saw, or, Arkansas even, because he visited there, we're talking about, hey man, he floated a number and we were just like, cool, that's too rich for our blood. So thanks for coming down on your official visit. Wish you well wherever you end up. Obviously, and again, I'm not going to sit here and try to be naive and say, well, there was no NIL number, or there was no anything for him to commit to Miami. I was born at night, but not last night. You know what I mean? So yeah, but then, also then you continue doing, you going around and begging and then getting Florida to bid against themselves, which, hey, it's great work if you can get it. Like, hey, I want 9.5. They're like 10, 11, 13. Like, I'm just going to keep naming numbers. So you say, well, like, I was going to say yes at 10, but like, I'll let y'all keep talking. And then there's just also the duplicitous nature of everything. Last week it was reported that Jaden had asked for a release from his NLI, his national letter of intent. Then his father came out and said, well, he's not asked for a release. And I said on this show last week, I said, and the unsaid ... yet is like a glaring neon sign. I literally said that last week. And then it comes out yesterday that he actually had filed for his release from his NLI. And I'm like, look, And again, words mean things. And like what Harlan Rashada said was accurate. It was like, he has not asked for a release. But the necessary follow-up from that reporter that I did not see was, is that the plan? Is that the next move going forward? Will he ask for a release? If you're saying that he has not now, are you saying terminally that he will not and he will show up on campus at the University of Florida? P.S. By the way, their enrollment deadline is passed. You cannot enroll for spring semester any longer. That is done unless he shows up in the fall or for summer, I would say summer A. But again, why am I going to go there when like I might have pending litigation against, an entity not of the university, but associated tangentially, kind of. But yeah, just like say it with your chest, like it just, yeah, no, like he's out here. And like, look, at this point, you got to know that wherever you go, the number that you're getting, if any, is less than what you were going to get from Miami initially. You know what I mean? Like that, you gambled and it came up snake eyes in a bad way, buddy. So like, yeah, I'm not. Now look, in a vacuum, a player of his talent, especially again, you got Jay Garcia leaving, you got Jakari Brown who needs another mango season for sure. Emory Williams, who I think might be a depth player, a program player. If he ends up being a backup or a starter, that's a real good projection or progression of his talent. And then Peyton Matoka, who's a program player, he should never play a meaningful snap at quarterback. But that's all you got at quarterback right now. Look, man, like Jaden Rashada would slot in supremely nicely on this roster right now, tomorrow. But like, I mean, yeah, you already got to know that you really gambled to try to make something shake, and it didn't. And yeah, whatever you're going to get, wherever you're going to get it is going to be less than that. And like now, what is he going to do? Because he's supposed to be an early enrollee, so he's not in high school anymore because he graduated. So y'all going to pay out the frame for just quarterback coaching and something? He's going to get a job at Taco Bell, or something on the side to make a little cash. Or I don't know. It's all over the place. But yeah, just because of those things, I wouldn't personally go for him again. But like his talent is such that I would understand it. But like everything else, bro, I don't know, man.
Falcon Rex, appreciate you. Gators are slippery. Falcon Rex, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
That's what I'm saying. But they went and they asked what the price was. And knowing that they had, an overdue or overdrawn balance on their account, like, and they weren't going to be able to just.
This has to have all these major schools running to their collectives and really locking down in terms of, okay, we need to make sure, or can we back up what we're talking to these athletes about?
Look, when I ran a choir program and I had a booster club, I said, look, this is what I need a year to make it work. I need $500 for FMEA registration a year. I need, we're going to have probably 8 kids who do All-State auditions at $12 a kid. So, that's like $100. Let's bump that up to $140 because those kids are going to need snacks at All-State. I'm going to need, one of those kids probably is going to go to All-State. That's going to be $700, right? So, I got the $500 for that. I got $140 for that. I got $700 for this. We got districts, so I'm going to need this. We got states, we're going to need this. I'm going to need this music. I'm going to hire a piano player to play piano because I need to be directing and I plunk out some notes. I'm not a, accomplished piano player, so I'm going to need, it's going to be this for the winter concert. It's going to be this for districts. It's going to be this for states. It's going to be this for the spring concert. Look, you put together a little budget. Like, I need this. So are we going to wash cars? Are we going to sell slushies? Shout out to Slushy Time. Boy, are we selling cheesecakes? What are we doing? Right? And like, look, at the school, I'm going to do my part. We're going to do this. We're going to sell the right. And I mean, it's similar but different, obviously. But like, I let it be known, like, this is the money that I need to run this program this year. And trust me, I ran on a shoestring. It was not a lot of money that I had every year. But when we fundraised, And then you have that, cool. So kids, they pay their $20 or $40 fair share fee. That's a drop in the bucket just to get us started for the year. And then we do all the other stuff, but we know this is what we need. So if we're going to fundraise this at the school side, which is what we always do, are you able to support with this on the other side? Yes or no? Yeah, we can do that. We can make that. Sure, fine. Make it happen then. But like, yeah, if you're in the world of NIL, they know what the numbers are. I know that they're going to these. Well, I don't, and it might be a thing where, like, I mean, technically as the choir or band director, you're not a member of the parent board, you're an advisor. So be like, well, we want to raise $1,000 this year. And they would say, and I would say, well, I would advise, let's shoot for 2,500 so we can get closer to the 1,800 because that's more what we need. Okay, cool. So then they would set themselves in motion. They would do those kind of things. I'm sure that you probably have that kind of same removed structure, obviously, where it's just like, yeah, we can advise, be like, okay, well, the collective, we need $6 million for this recruiting class. And then, look at, what goes where and how much. But like, yeah, man, like you have to have that kind of, you have to know what you're doing. It's not just, now look, if you're a team that, is blessed with a John Ruiz or a Phil Knight as the lead booster, he's not with us anymore, I don't believe, but like Boone Pickens at OK State, right? Blank checks. Those guys say, cool, whatever you need, let me know. I'll sign the check and do the transfer ACH. It'll be good. But clearly, looking at you, Florida, because y'all are broke, they don't have that ability, so they have to maybe set some parameters. But, yeah.
And finally, Knox K94, appreciate you being here. Thank you for the contribution. Laughed my ass off at the Kevin Hart bank account reference.
Yeah, man. So
I guess I missed that.
No, that was the checking and the saving. It's a bit from one of his stand-ups where, yeah, he's talking about going. I think he was going out with Chris Rock or a young lady, and he's like, well, yeah, so I have it, but I don't because like I have a checking and a savings, and like transfer the money over takes 2 days, and it's like this whole thing, and yeah, but
yeah, when you get embarrassed because you don't have money and you got to make a big explanation,
you use a lot of
terminology
to try to. And so there you go with the University of Florida because they got the checking and savings. It just takes a couple days to, yeah.
There we go, Falcon Rex. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Cam does with $1,000, then a collectives do with 18 million.
I mean, if we want to try out the inverse, though, if you guys want to, hey, look at cash symbol Underwood Sports on Cash App, you blow that up to $18 million. I guarantee you that we can try it out the other way. So hey, make that account look like that, and then we'll see.
Falcon Rex and others, Knox Kane and others, thank you so much for the contributions tonight. Appreciate you being here. Wednesdays is our date with Cam each and every week, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Get here next week, and we will see you then. Cam, anything you need to outline on State of the U and otherwise?
We're just still doing some good stuff. I was actually doing a piece about the roster. And then these last few transfers happened. So it's a good thing that it's still in drafts. I think I finally am ready for the that offensive metrics, explosive plays piece to go up as well. There's some other just in general recruiting stuff. We're still covering basketball. Hopefully, some other, women's and men's, and doing things along those lines. I think we got a couple of more State of the U awards from 2022 to write and publish. So those things, but, regardless of what it is, we're open 24/7, 365. So go on over to stateoftheu.com. Please come and fan with us. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. My personal Twitter account is @Sports. And anything else? I think you'll see it over there, but we're doing our best to be there for you. So thank you so much.
If you'd like to hear some more college football talk tonight, we're talking Big 12 with a number of contributors jumping on just to talk about the entire conference as we did and will for the other conferences here in the next few weeks. That starts in the next 15 minutes or so over on the main channel. Cam, it's always appreciated. You deliver. Thank you so much for making this happen.
My pleasure. We'll see you next week.